Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to show you how I make my apple butter. So let's get started. Alright, so as you can see I already got started cutting up some apples. And but I want to bring you in close and just kind of show you what I've got going on here. So I started a jar with the peels and the cores for the vinegar, as you would have seen in my apple preparation video, which is right up here. And today I'm going to be adding these little plums that we got from a friend, from their plum tree. And I'm going to be adding some lemon. I think I might put as much as 2. It depends on how big a batch I decide to make, and I haven't decided yet how big I want that to be. So I'm using my Back to Basics apple slicer core. As I said in that other video, I don't like to use the peel on this. It's great for that, but when it comes to apples, especially these smaller ones, these little misshapen ones, I just prefer to use a regular, my OXO apple peeler, and I love this apple peeler, by the way, or potato peeler, whatever you want to call it. So I'll link to both this and my slicer below, and I will go ahead and get started and show you, basically give you an idea how much is going on in here. So I'll be planning on using all of these plums, but once I get all this prepared, I'll tell you for sure how much I have and what I'm putting in there. So I'm going to get busy, and we'll just kind of breeze through the rest of this. I'll show a little bit of the process so you can just see how small I like to cut up my apples. So I got my fruit all prepared. I took the plums and the lemons and I processed them in the blender a little bit until they were smooth. And I did end up adding a second lemon. I have a total of 12 cups of fruit here. So I had probably about 15 of those small plums, and then I found another 5 plums, bigger ones, that we got from our neighbors that needed to be used up. So I threw those in here too. And that's what's great about apple butter, is you can add whatever fruit you want and just to get it used up and come up with some new and interesting flavors. So now with the 12 cups of fruit, I'm going to start with just 1 cup of the coconut sugar. And this here is the coconut sugar I like to use, and I will link to this below. I get this one through the Subscribe and Save on Amazon, so I save even more money because I get another 15% off doing it that way. And then I just keep it, when I'm using it, I keep it in a bucket like this. So 1 cup of the coconut sugar to start with. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go build a fire in my rocket stove because it's a nice day, and I had an option. I could cook this on solar or I could cook it on the rocket stove. But since it just makes for a much nicer picture outside, and we're going to have very few more of these days left, I better get out there and do that. And then as I'm cooking it, I'll be tasting it to see if maybe I might want to put 1 more cup of sugar in. And we'll see, because it does have the lemon, so it's already tart, and these are tart apples. But the plums are plenty sweet, so they're adding quite a bit of sweetness to it. And then before I start that, I'll show you real quick, I did get 2 jars of vinegar going with the apples, and I also threw in the ends of the lemons that I cut off because I don't use those, and the plum pits that still had a lot of the fruit left on them. I threw those in there too. So I'm going to go ahead and get outside, get that fire built, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so I'm out here at the rocket stove, and this has been cooking for probably about a half an hour, and it still has a way to go. That's one thing about making apple butter, is it can take a while to really cook it down. And you could probably, if you wanted to, take your apples and then blend them up with whatever fruit, and it would make this process go a little bit faster. Whatever you want to do. This is just how I always do it. I cut my apples about this size and then just cook them down, and then just keep mashing them with this old classic potato masher. And I tell you, these old ones, they're better than the so-called Cadillacs of potato mashers. Somebody bought me one of those one time, and I tell you, that was just silly. I like these old-fashioned styles. So when I found this one at a garage sale, I was very thrilled. But anyway, you're just going to keep cooking and keep mashing. And what I ended up doing is, after I did my initial taste test, I decided it is It is pretty tart, though very, very tasty. And coconut sugar, and this is one thing I tend to forget, is not near as sweet as your regular cane sugar. Percentage-wise, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Maybe it's about 25% to 30% less sweet. So I did go ahead and put another cup, and it is actually still pretty tart, but it is really, really good like this. And so because of the flavors I've got going on here, I won't be adding cinnamon or cloves or ginger to this particular batch. That's something I usually do if I'm doing just apples, but when I do mixed fruits, I just play it by ear, and it depends on how the flavor turns out. Now, my last batch where I did the blueberry, what was it? I did blueberry rose apple butter, and that one I did put just a little bit of cinnamon in it, and it was really good. So I'm going to keep cooking this down, and when it's to the point that I like it and I'm ready to jar it up and can it, then I will come back and show you what it looks like so you can get an idea. Alright, so now I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I normally leave my apple butter kind of chunky, but I decided I want to try a smoother consistency this time. So I'm going to be using my stick blender, which is plugged into our solar power. Alright, so that's a pretty decent consistency right there. I still got to have a little bit chunky the way I like it, but a little smoother than I usually make it. So, and it's all a matter of choice. Some people like theirs super, super smooth. I like pieces of fruit. I'm just that way. So, as before, I like to put just a little bit in each one of my already hot jars just to keep them from cooling down until I can get them all filled. That was 12 cups of fruit and 2 cups of the coconut sugar. You know, if you're using, depending on how sweet you like it, we're just trying to, you know, keep our sugar content really low. And by the way, I just opened up a jar of applesauce that I made last year. It was blackberry applesauce with no sugar added, and oh my goodness, it's so good just as is. It doesn't need sugar. So we just tend to think of apple butters as being a little sweeter. And the coconut sugar, at least I know I'm getting a lot of good healthy things in there because it's real high in minerals. The minerals that we tend to be missing in our standard American diets, which we're trying to break that standard, right? Okay, so this could use a little bit more here. And this is a nice thick apple butter, and I have the water in my canner heating up. And this year, I tell you, the funny thing is, I never pulled out my my hot water bath canner. I've just been using my All-American canner to do all of my canning, be it hot water bath or pressure can. So, you know, it really is a great dual purpose canner. Okay, I got the water boiling. I've set my timer for 10 minutes, and as soon as 10 minutes is over, I'll pull these out, tighten down the 3 Tatler lid bands, and wait for them to seal. And while I'm waiting for that to finish up, I want to talk just for a minute about this shelf because I've been getting several questions about this and where I got it. Mr. Rain custom built this shelf for me for the purpose of holding these mason jars full of my different things that I use in my teas through the year. So over here I've got dried orange peel, there's Ceylon cinnamon sticks, and here is passion flower, and this is licorice root. These two are good for helping to induce sleep. This is dandelion marshmallow root, woolly lamb's ear leaves. This just makes an excellent tea by itself. This is the rubus tea I've talked about in another video. This is my special garden herb tea blend. and which also has marshmallow root and a few other things, and I'll go over that in another video coming up soon. And then that there is marshmallow leaves and flowers. So I use these all in different ways. Right now I'm still getting some fresh herbs from the garden, so I use the fresh herbs for making my teas during this time of year, but as soon as they're all done, I switch to my dried herbs. And yeah, these make really good teas, and that's what that shelf's all about. And it just kind of keeps everything organized and looking nice and easy to get to. Alright, so it's been quite a while now. I got the jars out of the canner. I tightened down the bands on the Tatler lid jars, and it looks like all the jars sealed, even the one with the convex top from me years ago not properly putting the bands on right, and look, it's sealed. It worked. So even with just a 10-minute processing time, it's got a good seal on it. So if you watched my tips on canning lids, you can find that right up here. At the time, I wasn't sure about using one that had already been where the top had become convex from having the band on too tight. Somebody commented under there, and thank you for that, telling me that yes, you can do it again because they will get their shape again once they've been processed, which is what I thought, but I was a little afraid to try it. But I'm glad I wasn't afraid. Though in a way I kind of wish it wouldn't have sealed, because I really want to dig into this right away. But I do have tons of other apple butters, and a couple are open right now. So anyway, it looks really good. So I hope I got to clean these up, and then I'll get them put away in my pantry. Hope you enjoyed this video, and that maybe you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.